Hello and welcome to Talking Heads in partnership with Movie Maker Magazine, New Filmmakers Los Angeles and the Actors Centre London. My name is Danny De Lillo and we're here at the Cambridge Los Angeles showroom in West Hollywood, and I'm here with Aml Ameen, Brit Hollywood star, currently starring in Sense8. Aml.
Yes, yes. How are you?
How are you? You know, it's a delight to have you here.
Thank you. We've been catching up off camera.
We've been catching up off camera
for a very long time, and I'm happy to be here, man. Yeah,
oh man,
really,
it's a pleasure.
Really nice.
Aml is kind of one of my idols, so it's a little bit of a personal feeling. Like you've just done. I've been following your career since I was a little boy, and it's.
Am I that old already?
I'm only a little behind you. No. But you really are an inspirational, guy, as well as being a fantastic actor and starring in one of the Brit cult films, Kidulthood, which was absolutely fantastic. Then in an incredible TV series called The Bill, and I used to miss my homework watching that show, I was watching you on the show actually. And then you did what very few Brits do and do extremely successfully, which you moved to Hollywood.
Yeah, man, yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you named some, I was smiling when you said Kidulthood and The Bill, because Kidulthood is now, as of next year, it'll be 10 years old.
Really?
Yeah, so 2006 is when it's released. I believe they're doing the third part to it, and just thinking back to that time, which I didn't know you quite then, but it's just, I was 19 years old, so it was just such a real beautiful time in my career, and just, it was a surprise, I did this indie film, and I did not know, I was completely dedicated to it. I believed in Menage Huda and Noel Clarke's, writing and the work. But I had no idea it was going to be such a cult classic that lives forever. Like when I go home to this day, people go, Aml Ameen, Trevor, my little gondrilla, and stuff like that. And so it's definitely was a beautiful time. And at the same time, like you were saying, The Bill came out the same year. So I had this weird juxtaposition where you could watch me on cinema and then go home and watch me on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Yeah. On The Bill, playing this exciting character.
Yeah, it was a brilliant character. For those, for the Brits, we all know what The Bill is. It's everybody stayed in to watch it. But for Americans, it was the cult police show that was going for many years.
25, 30 years. Yeah.
And you had an amazing character. But it was just incredible because you took all of the successes from the UK and you came over here and you did come over here for a role which brought you to Los Angeles. What was that transition like for you going from the UK and coming across to Hollywood?
Well, how it is really, I did Kidulthood, did The Bill, and then I moved around to different various projects like Fallout and small projects, and I just felt like there was a ceiling or a rotation of the roles that I would be doing. And but beyond that, as a young boy, I've been in the entertainment industry since I was 6 years old professionally, and I just knew from a very early age I had to go to America and be in Hollywood. The people I looked up to as a kid, as a real small kid, like watching James Stewart and Mickey Rooney, who just died, God bless him. And then as I got a bit older, like the Fresh Prince and all of those, these things, they informed me. And I remember being 11 years old and going to my mum and saying, Mum, like, how am I going to be an actor when I speak like Shakespeare and crying and everything like that, And she said, you'll find a way, son. And so, mimicking the American accent was the way. And so I already knew when I was doing Kidulthood, The Bill, when I was doing Kidulthood, Adam, Deacon, and Femi Oyeniran will always say, like, I was always saying, I'm going to America. And then when I came to America in 2009, just to get really personal, I went around to all the agents and managers, and everybody said no. Everybody said, oh yeah, we see your reel's great, your talent, but we haven't got time to develop anybody. Blah, 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 blah. And it was just my one manager, Tammy Rosen, who today is still the cornerstone of my career. That said yes, as I was leaving to get on a plane, thinking it was a failed journey. And it wasn't a smooth transition initially, because in 2009 I went back, I did some plays, I had a small role in the George Lucas film Red Tails, and then I would just send tapes to the States. It's now become a common thing, but back in 2010 it wasn't as common. I would just send tapes, and then they flew me out. One tape hit, and a company flew me out. I tested for the show. The studio passed me. I never knew what a test was before. I was like, what's a test? Okay. And they have to go through, there's people in the room like how there is now, and they're just looking off and doing their own thing, like that. In the other room, that is, everyone's paying attention to me. Love you all. And no, it was, and I didn't get it. And the rug was pulled from me again, and it was a case of, I was now traveling back. They said, okay, cool, yeah, thanks so much for coming. Come back next year, you know. And I just decided, you know what, I'm not going anywhere. My manager and I think my brother was encouraging, Mikhail was encouraging, said, listen, stay there. Like, this opportunity brought you to this moment, and that's what you do with it. And so my manager hooked me up, and I stayed in I stayed very fancily in a very famous actress's house, in a guest house for a while. And 2 weeks later, I was cast in Harry's Law.
With Kathy Bates?
With Kathy Bates. And that is the beginning of how I got to America. It wasn't smooth at all. It's like up, down. It was yo-yo-y. And then it's like 2 weeks later, or literally 13 days later to be more specific, it was like, all right, cool. You have now been cast in David E. Kelly gave me what is called a straight offer. So I didn't have to go to studios or anything. He saw my audition in the room and he said, all right, you know, do you want to be involved? I said,
yeah. Yes. I think that's a really, I mean, it's an amazing journey to hear that, because I think people look at you and think, wow, you're very successful. It must have always been like that for you. And you have had trials and tribulations, and you do go through experiences, and it's not always tough. And there is those times when you're literally about to, I'm on the plane home, and then maybe an opportunity comes through, and you know, I bet at that point you're like, oh my goodness, like, wow, my whole life has changed. What is it like, you know, like that dream as a 6-year-old boy, and just, you know, imagine you're going to be an actor and go into the big wide world, and then you end up, you know, partner alongside someone like Kathy Bates.
Yeah, I mean, I have had an very interesting career, because if you date back to me being 6 years old, I went up to my parents at 6. I grew up in a kind of entertainment family, but no one's in the entertainment industry. And I said, Dad, Mum, I want to be an actor. And they're like, my dad was like, you're sure, son? I was like, yeah, Dad, I want to be an actor. Dad's from the Caribbean. You're sure? And he said, yes. And the next day, I think, or that week, I was enrolled in a stage school, which I'd be there for the next 10 years. And I've had different moments in my career where phenomenal things have happened. You know, I worked with Michael Jackson when I was 11 years old. You know, danced with him at the Brit Awards '96. You know, I played Sammy Davis Jr. as a kid in the West End because I'm a tap dancer, and all these various moments of my career. And, you know, all leading up to it, the one common thread is, you know, you have, in all disappointments, you know, we feel it in our heart, we get emotional about it, but there is the moment where it's, you're going to either take the blessing or the lesson. And there's either a blessing or lesson in life. And, you know, I look at every disappointment eventually as there is an opportunity in here. There's some opportunity, whether to learn or to move forward or to resist, you know. And so that's what I found the common thread is, because had I went home, had I not been knocked out by the first wind of a punch, I would never have been where I am today. And even today, you know, I'm pushing and striving to get to where I want to in my head, you know.
Well, I mean, what I've always admired about you as well is that, you know, you're also, as young as you are, you know, you're an advocate for new talent and talent coming through, and you've been a tremendous supporter of the independent film industry as well, and you've made some fantastic short films as well, and discovered new talent. You know, how important is independent film still, aside from these big studio, big projects? How important is the independent route as well?
For me, the independent route is, you know, I wish it wasn't. I wish the independent route wasn't structured in the way that it is in terms of being independent, but I look at it as all stories are here to connect with people. That's the only real value we have in doing this, apart from the fact it makes a lot of money around the world. And how can you connect to so many different people from different walks of life, you know, and to know that media and filmmaking is such an important way of teaching people about other people's cultures from around the world, whether you're misinforming them or educating them in the right way. And it's a great barrier breaker, you know? So, you know, to use this example, how do I know what an Italian American is like? You know, I watch Goodfellas and Godfather, and, you know, you get a sense of the culture, their way of life, even if it's just a fraction of truth. And so for me, the independent film route is a person's truth, because the only stake they have in it is to tell their story. It's coming from a very authentic place first. It's not coming from a place of, I need to make money, or we need to get, you know, 100 million bums on seats. It's coming from somebody's truth. So I think everything started off as an independent film, because it's independent of someone's actual intention of speaking their truth into existence or using their imagination. even Star Wars is an independent at some point, right?
Exactly.
It started off as, you know, from what I understand about it, like George Lucas's desire to tell this intergalactic story of something that is based in very small human connective truths. And so for me, that's independent films coming from that place, and I think it's very important. You know, I have a lot of my stories are my desire. There's nothing like directing and telling the whole piece and watching that come to life, and especially if you wrote it, it's coming from your imagination. You've penned it, and then you're putting it together, and then it's birthed into the world. It's our chance of playing God, you know. You know, so I really love independent film, and I love filmmaking. It's very succinct with my love for acting. You know.
I told you it's a film TED Talk we got going on here. It's amazing. I love it, Aml. Now, you know, you've been fortunate enough to work with some incredible people and on some incredible projects. You know, a very notable film that's also, you know, took you on another level as well was Lee Daniels' The Butler.
Yeah, man.
How was that experience, and also how was it, you know, having to play a sort of young, iconic Forrest Whitaker character as well?
Well, do you know what? There's a time, you know, as an actor, there are moments in your career or moments in just your life when you're reading something, you're like, it becomes your must. I must be in this, which means you're going to dedicate a certain amount of energy and hours and focus, like, to it that is beyond, above and beyond. You know, one of the things I really admire about people that do what we do, that do it right, is that we suffer really to really get to the truth of storytelling. Not all of us, but the people that do it exceptional, like a Forrest Whitaker. It's a great amount of suffering and labor that goes into it, and someone's applause is so you always welcome applause, and you did a great job, but really being able to be a part of the instrument that moves people is amazing. And so The Butler, having read that script, I was looking at it and just being like, I was like, wow, what compelling time, what an opportunity for me to travel into that moment and put myself in the circumstances of Cecil Gaines as a young boy, the things I would have experienced, you know, the horrors and the triumph of that character. And so I went to an audition, I think it was at Chateau, and Leah Daniels, she's wonderful, I love her. She really was an advocate for me getting this part, and I went and auditioned, and you know, Lee Daniels is in his pajamas as usual, and he's king. And he was like, you know, yeah, Mel, you're great, but you know, you haven't got the part because you look like Will, you don't look like Forrest. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. But he goes, but I'm gonna find something for you. And I was like, all right, thanks, great, man. And I was about to take a job in London, and then I got the call. You know, I'm walking down Oxford Street. I can see it right now. I'm walking down Oxford, and I get the call. Mel, Lee really loves what you did, and they're gonna make it work. Forrest is gonna play younger, so you can. And I was over the moon, man. It was something that I was ready for. You know, I'm ready for a lot in my life as an actor anyway, a lot of responsibility, but it's something that I was ready for. It's working with people that already I admired. And, you know, that experience, Lee Daniels made me a better actor. I worked with Clarence Williams III, who's an actor that not a lot of people maybe know in our generation, but he was in the Mob Squad and American Gangster, and he's someone that Denzel Washington and Lee Daniels and Morgan Freeman, they all look up to. And watching him work, his level of truth when he's being this part is amazing. And just watching him work, and then also Lee's direction, really, you know, to put away all the bells and whistles on what is the truth of this. And it really was a compelling kind of experience, you know. One that definitely sent me on the trajectory I am now, and also just made me a better actor. I was a much better actor after working with Lee on that.
And such an iconic family, the Butler family as well, you know, just making some absolutely incredible projects, but very important storytelling, like you say. I mean, it's fantastic. You know, one of your main successes as well is that, and let me tell you something, Aml Ameen has mastered the American accent. And you've had many of your roles. How do you think, how important is that, you know, as an actor from overseas, to sort of have the American accent? You
know, it's an interesting thing. It's not just an accent. It's when you start researching a character a character, and you're looking at it, you're getting if you're looking at it and you're watching, reading the script and imagining the circumstances, you're really developing a person. And so, yes, an accent has to be initially the thing that you have to do, but not every accent's going to suit.
Right.
You know, there's such a specificity to different accents. And so if we're going to come and be a part of this world and essentially, you know, play them, it's very important for us to like really take it seriously, study and not just pass off an American accent because it's nuanced, you know, but really, you know, study the where everything derives from and why it derives from, why an accent is the way it is and everything like that. And I really enjoy that.
So, Aml, it's, you know, it's a whole different experience living here, you know, in Los Angeles from, you know, being back where we're from back over in London.
London, England.
Live in England.
Good old.
What is kind of your day-to-day life here is, you know, different in Los Angeles? How different is it? We have palm trees for one thing.
Yeah, we've got palm trees. I mean, listen, it was different when I first came here. I came here 2010, it's 2015. My first 2 years, I was like enamored, you know, or a little bit, you know, really enjoying it, you know. And then the last 2 years, I've been away, you know. I needed to get out of it, you know. LA is a city, for me personally, my personal experience, some people love it, but my personal experience is it's a city that is full of everybody that's trying to get in the business. It's a real transplant city and transient, so there's not really a settled energy in my experience. And so I like to get out of LA and go and experience some of the other places where what we do is a small part of it and get around, you know, other humans that are not necessarily focused on that. But my day-to-day is just going out and making noise, man. You know, like I said, I'm a very ambitious person, and there's a lot of, you know, I've got a lot of projects independently that I'm moving forward as a producer and as a writer, and I don't say that just willy-nilly. I'm like genuinely, and as a filmmaker, and just I suppose as an actor, just making sure that you know, we're doing, my reps and myself are doing everything in our power between Monday and Friday to really push the needle in what we want to do. Because for me, you know, I love acting. It's fun in moments, but I love the art of it, and I love filmmaking. But what's really important to me as a person is, before I go from this earth, is being a part of different conversations that are important to me, you know. One that connect humans, and also just push certain narratives that I feel that are important. And so one of the greatest ways to do that is the success of this business. And if you're a half-educated person or someone that cares about people, once you're in a certain position, however small or big, once you're in a certain position, people look to you and they go, oh, what's on your mind, because you're famous, or you're in this thing, or you're in the newest this and that. And so, you know, I'm definitely, every day I'm charged with that feeling of what it is I want to achieve and say through art, and how I want to connect with people through art. And I'm in a rush to get there. So every single day, it's that kind of energy, you know, that kind of intensity, whether I'm working out, whether I'm talking to my friends, it's that kind of energy. And it's not success for success' sake, it's success with a purpose. So that's my day-to-day, you know. The weekends, I'm trying to get into enjoying the weekends a bit, like, as in like, hey, listen, this weekend, I hate weekends in LA. Because I'm like, it's the weekends, it's like everybody's like, oh, I'm chilling now, you know. Like, you know what I mean? And for me, so I, you know, LA, but at the same time, I live in Santa Monica right now. Every day I wake up, I'm in paradise. Like literally.
All the Brits move there. It's their idealistic version of California, isn't it?
It's just like, hey, palm trees, and people are, hey man, how are you? Like walking by and they're smiling and happy. Like everyone's happy all the time, and you know, the beach is, you know, not that far from me, and so I love Santa Monica. I'm enjoying that. But yeah, my day-to-day is definitely focused on the mission.
Well, I mean, I honestly, you're one of the hardest workers that I've known here, and you know, I'm seeing great things from you all the time. I remember actually going on Twitter one day, and you're on a plane alongside yourself with all these young, great actors, and you're flying off doing another fantastically big film, The Maze Runner.
Yeah, the Maze Runner. I mean, I love that. We did that in 2013. Wes Ball is the director of that. Absolute, like a genuine young genius, I think. He did this film called Ruin that you can watch on YouTube. You should watch it. This is the reason why this man is just like done so great. Yeah, man, I love the Maze Runner. I love the Maze Runner. I loved the character Albie. I love the world. You know, I grew up on fantasy films like Goonies and Hook.
Oh, I know.
And so, you know, I'm 30 now, and I was like, oh, am I getting too old to? It was a couple of years ago, but I was like, am I getting too old to play like, be in that kind of, you know, Rufio Hook world? You know what I mean? Yeah, Rufio, like swinging on the tree and stuff like that, you know. And it was great because I got a chance to play in that world, and yeah, man, I love that experience, and it's gone on to be a really successful film. I think the third one's out next year.
Yeah.
You know, it's gone on to be really successful, and another moment in my career where people are like, oh my gosh, that, like, oh wow, you know. And what's been really fun about my career so far is that I've not really gotten into a niche of anything. You know, if you're looking at The Butler, it's something specific. If you're looking at Maze Runner, it's a different type of character. You know, Sensei, like there's so many different variations. So I've had a real versatile ride in my American career so far, and I think that's the difference as well between my experience back home and here, is that there's a real opportunity for versatility.
Now, you know, one of the partners that we have is the Actor Centre, where, you know, as we know back home in the UK, and like many people here in different acting studios, and, you know, work their backsides off, you know, rehearsing, doing things. You know, again, it's like we're all in it to win it. We're all in it to find our place in the entertainment industry. We're all looking to, you know, see how we can make our mark, so to speak. What sort of advice do you have for like anyone that is either attempting to go into the industry or trying to make their mark, or move into Los Angeles? What sort of piece of advice have you been given, or maybe that you have for them?
One of the pieces of advice I always come back to is focus on the work. I feel like the work and your ability to execute the work and your ability to surprise yourself by working diligently is the thing that's going to drive you forward. I'd say also, you know, resilience. This is an industry that you get knocked left and right, and so, you know, I think actors are some of the ones that have stuck in it, are some of the more resilient people that I've met, because you're constantly getting told no, you know, no, and so the resilience, focusing on the work, and you know, just work hard to be a master at what you do, and also know that you are ultimately responsible and the captain of how things go for you in your acting career, but I think life as well. You know, you're ultimately the person. There's people you're going to inspire to come along the journey with you, but ultimately you're the person that is going to steer this ship the way you want it.
Right.
That's it. And no one can actually live in your imagination and your specific vision of how things should be. So once you get to grips with that, you know, you rely upon your vision and inspire others to come along.
Well, I mean, you're very inspirational, and it's like I love listening to you as always, because you always inspire me personally as well. But who inspires you?
A lot of people like that I know personally these days. You know, in terms of work ethic, I would say like someone like my brother, you know, Mikhail, his work ethic is second to none. I'm actually going to end up naming family members. My father, in terms of, like, he walk into any room on the planet in the face of any person, and he always says to me when I was young, and he says it, you know, don't look up to anybody and don't look down on anybody. Look straight in at people's face, whoever they are, because we all have our place in this whole world, and no matter how someone is celebrated or not, you know, you have your place, and so just look people dead in the eye and go for what you want. So someone like that, you know, and then various other people. You know, my mother's a great support system to me, but my influences and my inspiration definitely comes more from people that are closer to me. I've always advocated that as well. Like, you know, if you haven't got people that inspire you close to you, find someone that can inspire you in real life.
Yeah.
So obviously there is actors who I admire, and there are people out there that I admire outside of acting, you know, speakers and everything else like that, and that pushes you to go. But I found, you know, at the end of the day, my vision of my life is very specific to me. And although these people, you know, I don't want to, you know, you look up to people in moments, but, you know, everyone's human.
Everyone's human, that's right.
So, you know, people that inspire me are very close to me. Yeah.
So, I mean, New Filmmakers Los Angeles is, you know, an organization that shows emerging talent and film from across the world. You know, how important do you think it is that we sort of see, you know, talent and perspective from, like, you know, across the planet, aside from just what happens here in Hollywood?
Oh, it's very important, you know. It's essential because, you know, they say, why do British people and Australians and people from the UK do great American accents? Why? What's the answer to that? It's very simple.
Oh, I'm learning.
I think it's very simple because we're fed their culture.
It's true.
You know, and so we get an idea of what their culture is.
That's right.
Every single day when we turn on the TV. And why have a lot of Americans not got passports?
Yeah.
And why have a lot of Americans not necessarily do they know about all the rest of the world? Like, it's because their culture is the center of the world.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, you know, having other cultures and other ways of life filter through that and different perspectives is so important for all of us to broaden our horizons and just connect.
Yeah.
You know, if we can be in a better place where we're just like, hey, oh, this person's different from me, instead of being scared and just being, oh, they're different, but okay, the commonality, there's more commonality than anything else.
Yeah.
If we can get to a place like that in life more, if that becomes our habitual way of thinking, then we've done something good. And if Hollywood can provide that narrative in filmmaking, can provide that bridge, that's great, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think it's essential to see things in different walks of life. You know, I applaud Netflix, for example, for really doing that. Because Netflix seems like it's the bridge to where everybody can watch everything that they wouldn't usually watch and not have to go look for it. Right. You know, it's about access. So you go to this hub called Netflix and you're like, oh, let me look at that film then. Okay, I've never seen that. Lahane, okay. And then you're on the journey, you're like, oh, I got it. And you know, or even that show Narcos right now.
Narcos,
half of it's in another language and it's the most compelling part of the show.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And so for me, I think that's very cool. And of course, Sensei.
Well, I was going to say, speaking of Netflix, I came across and I was flicking through myself and I discovered this TV show called Sensei, and then find out your friend's playing one of the leading roles. How is Sensei? What is that experience like?
That is a perfect, I think that perfectly articulates everything I'm trying to say about connectivity, everything I'm trying to say about, you know, traveling the world and different cultures infiltrating. You know, I get to see this season coming up. I think we're going to 11 different cities around the world.
That's amazing.
You know, last season I was in Seoul and Mumbai and Nairobi, you know, Mexico City and Berlin and Chicago and San Francisco. And so you're being filled up, whether you're cognizant of it or not, you're being filled up of all of this different ways of life. Yeah. And then I'm able to, you know, really see it closely because I'm working with the people. Each crew is from there. Wow. So you're working with those people. So, you know, Sensei has definitely been a life-changing, eye-opening series to be a part of. And I think it's going to go down in history as the time passes and people get to learn about it more and more. It's something that is just like absolutely innovative because who shoots every, you know, the Wachowskis they're so adamant that they shoot every different city as that city. So it's Sensei, it's about 8 different people from across the world who are connected through kind of one mind. And so they are very adamant that happens because you can't fake the textures of the reality. So you're kind of on this narrative, character-driven experience, but there's actually a documentary element to it, in my opinion, because you're actually seeing the world as it is. And so it's brilliant, and I play this wonderful character, Capheus.
And another again, you're not playing a Brit.
No, I'm Kenyan. I'm Kenyan in that, and I play this really great guy, and he's just like, he sees the world from the perspective of, he sees wonder before he sees or feels fear. You know, he's fascinated by other human beings.
A bit like you then, really, isn't it?
I actually think, well, you know, my day-to-day disposition I aspire to that. My day-to-day disposition is a lot more serious than him. He's a lot more like.
I love the accent. I love it.
Yeah, he's a lot more of that. You know,
Yeah. No,
it's been a very big pleasure doing it, and we go into second season. Yeah, man, and we go into second season in March.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun. So yeah.
And I love the whole Netflix thing that like I can literally, because I'm obviously, meeting lots of different people and interviews and things like that. I love that I can just like, Sensei's coming out. Oh, I can just binge the whole season and turn my phone off.
10, yeah.
Isn't that such
like
a great experience?
10 hours.
Now?
I think we're doing 13 hours this year.
Yeah.
Don't quote me, but 13.
And I know there's a lot of Sensei fans out there.
Oh my! To me, it's crazy. It's really been a buzzy show, like around the world. You know.
Yeah.
It's been crazy. I spent my summer in New York, and people love it there. And I was in Cayman Islands and Jamaica. I was just in Jamaica, 'cause I'm doing a film there next year. And so yeah, man, it's definitely. And
you've got fans out there. Trust me, you've got all these fans, all these female fans that are after you as well. I'm just saying, yeah. Even just the interview today, they're chasing me because they're chasing you, and I was like, woo, my goodness. No, it's brilliant, and honestly, I love Sensei, and it's like you said, it's going to be an epic show. It's going to go down in history, and
I think so.
And I love that you are also going down in history, and I'd love to finalize and say, like, because you're very inspirational, but also you're a great role model for other people as well, that, just in life and in general. What would you like your kind of legacy to be sort of in the entertainment industry?
That's a massive question, isn't it?
It's massive. I thought I'd go there.
What do I want my legacy to be?
Through entertainment.
Through entertainment, what would I like my legacy to be? I don't know. I think that's a really profound question. I'm not willing to answer on camera yet. I'm scared.
He's still discovering.
Still discovering.
30, we'll let him
yeah.
off,
No. I guess the closest answer is, I really want to be in a position where I can help change minds. Just change minds or broaden minds through work, and then have a really fucking good time, like just playing in different worlds. That's the one. Like, you get to live so many different lives if you're doing the work intensely right when you're an actor. So have a really good time and just be in a position where I can help other people through my success and blessings. That would be my legacy if whatnot.
Well, you are changing, making those changes, and you are broadening minds. And Aml, like, it's a pleasure to have you here and talk with you.
It's good to see you, man.
Good to see you.
You're doing really well.
Killing it. We just kind of had a catch up, really.
I was like, wow, wow.
But no, thank you very much, and on behalf of New Filmmakers Los Angeles, and Movie Maker Magazine, and the Actors Centre London, and Cambridge Los Angeles for having us. Aml Ameen, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks,
Cheers, man.